Welcome back in. It's Jeff Hansen. We're talking BYU football. The Cougars 5-0, just like we all expected. They're going to sit comfortably inside the top 25 for at least the next couple of weeks, get a bye week to prepare for a home game against Arizona. There's a lot of reasons to feel pretty good if you're a BYU fan right now. BYU wins 34-28. I got a lot of thoughts and opinions on this game. I'll certainly have more in the weeks to come. We're about an hour removed from the game being over, so I haven't rewatched anything. The emotions of being a fan and that up and down game, I mean, that's all there, right? But let's talk about it. Let's get into some of that instant analysis. The first thing that really stands out to me was, thank the heavens that the offense and the defense alternated when they played well and when they didn't. Because had BYU's offense and defense both played very, very well in the first half, I don't know that BYU would have been able to hold off Baylor in the second half. Okay, the BYU offense in the second half was bad. It was bad for a lot of different reasons that we'll talk about here in a second, but it was just bad. But the BYU defense in the first half was equally bad. And I don't think that the defense in the second half ever played particularly well, but they played well in key moments, and it made us feel like they played well. But they gave up a lot of yards. Baylor's offense started to figure some things out. Sawyer Robertson, he's a 4-star quarterback when he was coming out of high school. He's no scrub, and BYU made him look really, really good. So the defense never really played well, but they played well enough. The offense totally shifted into neutral in the second half. They looked terrible, but they played really well in the first half. And I think it's important. Some comments that I've seen come my way since the game has ended is, hey, once again, the defense won this game for BYU. And I just don't think that's true. I don't think that the offense won this game for BYU either. I think this was a complimentary football team win because the offense bailed out the defense when they weren't going well. The offense did score 34 points. One thing that we've talked about is we wanted to see the offense sustain some drives, score on long drives. They did that. They didn't do it for 60 minutes, but they did that. The first half, they had 3 long drives. That's good. The offense played very, very well through 4 drives in the game. And then things fell apart. Look, Baylor has good players too. Dave Aranda is a good coach. And I don't know that he's going to stick around in Waco for very long. I don't know that he's the long-term solution for Baylor, but they have talented players, and BYU just started to lose reps. But they did play well enough to score 34 points. And the defense, they gave up 28 points in this game. That's more than double their season average so far. That's not good. That's not a great defensive performance. They came up big when they needed to, but that's not a great defensive performance. 28 points isn't anything that Jay Hill's going to feel good about. So, no, I don't think that the defense won this game. I don't think that the offense won this game. I think BYU won this game. The offense had its moments where they looked great and they did enough to get a win. They had their moments that they looked terrible, and there's a lot of things that have to be fixed. The same can be said for the defense. This was truly a complimentary team win. That's a good thing. My next thought from the game, it seems like a weekly thing, but what did Jake Retzlaff prove this week? It seems like every week he's proving something different, and then we kind of sort of move the goalposts on him a little bit. Against SMU, it was, hey, you got to cut down the turnovers and, just take the sack. Don't make the stupid play. Okay, he did that against K-State. He took a sack in the red zone, and it was, well, come on, you can't take a sack there. You got to throw. We're constantly moving the goalposts on Jake Retzlaff a little bit. I'm not here to say he's great. I don't think he's a phenomenal quarterback for BYU, but he does prove new things every week. So this last week, after that K-State win, there's been a lot of conversation about, well, yeah, if the defense gifts Jake Retzlaff short fields, well, he ought to be able to capitalize and score. And he does. And he did that. He did that again today. BYU had a turnover in the first quarter. Jake got set up with a short field, and the BYU offense punched it into the end zone. But that wasn't the only thing. I want to pull it up here so that I'm accurate. Jake had 3 long touchdown drives in this game. That's good. That's something we haven't really seen from him yet. Opening drive of the game, 7 plays, 75 yards for a touchdown. Later in the first quarter, 7 plays, 69 yards for a touchdown. And the 4th touchdown of the first half, 10 plays, 85 yards for another score. Those are things that we have not seen Jake Retzlaff do. So that's good. Now, Jake Retzlaff in the second half, that was a really bad interception on the throw, the rollout pass to Keelan Marion. That was bad. I mean, that was just bad. I think in real time, I thought maybe that Marion got tackled, but after looking at the other angle from above, that throw was just terrible. It was just a really, really bad throw. The second interception, that situation, you can't do that. I think the play call was pretty bad, and I have some other thoughts on that for here in a second. That play call wasn't great. I didn't like on a 3rd and 2 when you just need anything positive to happen, move the chains. I don't love throwing the ball. It gets deflected. It gets intercepted by a defensive lineman. That was bad execution of what I thought was a bad play call. So Jake Retzlaff wasn't perfect. There's in no way should anybody try to make that claim. There are also some drops. Darius Lassiter had a couple of drops. Parker Kingston had a drop that I can remember. So it wasn't a perfect game really from anybody on the offense. And we can't discount the role of injuries. Connor Pay goes down early in the first quarter. Now you have Sonny Makasini, who missed last week, sliding over to center. He hasn't taken reps, or at least not a ton of reps at center, in practice weeks. And he's hurt. He was hurt last week, so we don't know if he's 100% or not. Austin Leosa also hurt last week. Don't know if he's 100%. He gets plugged in at guard. Waylon Lapuaho goes down. He came back, but for a while there, you had Bruce Mitchell playing on the other guard position. The interior of the the interior offensive line for BYU got beat up by the Baylor defensive line. But you did have a lot of injuries and a lot of you had some new positions, a new center. Lapuaho does come back into the game, but was he 100%? I don't know. That was a rough performance from the interior of the offensive line, but it was also maybe a little understandable because of the injuries. You have backups in at running back. And as much as I love Pokai Honga and Enoch Nawahine, they're still young, right? They're still learning. And now they've got a makeshift interior of the offensive line. That was going to be tough. Okay, that was really going to be tough. That second half was rough. BYU's got to find a way to play better. Will Farron, if he makes a field goal in the second half, we probably all are breathing a little bit easier down the stretch. So it wasn't great, but I commend BYU for not having their best stuff in this game, especially offensively, and still finding a way to win in the second half. That's what gutty teams do. So that was great. One thing that really was very apparent to me as I read comments from fans on social media, over on our Discord, things like that, there's this notion that BYU got conservative in the second half and started to play not to lose. And I don't see it. I didn't see it that way. Now, I saw a team that failed to execute. I saw a team that could not run the ball, but I didn't see a team that was playing not to lose. I mean, for crying out loud, Kalani called a fake punt on 3rd and 11. That's not a team that's playing not to lose. That play call that I hated that led to the second interception, it's 3rd and 2, 4 minutes left. All of the conventional wisdom says run the ball. A conservative play call is to run the ball right there. But Aaron Roderick calls a pass play. Doesn't go BYU's way, but that wasn't a play call that was not to lose. I think that the play calling was still aggressive. I just think the execution really faltered in the second half offensively. Now, defensively, big moments. They came up big in big moments, whether it was a big sack from Crew Wakely, an interception by Crew Wakely to seal it in the end. Tyler Batty had a big sack. BYU's defense came up with big plays and big moments, but this was not a great game for BYU. I mean, it just wasn't. Defensively, they gave up a lot of yards. They gave up a lot of long, sustained drives. There were I think Baylor was 4 of 7 on 4th downs. So BYU struggled to get off the field. This was I think a great game for Jay Hill to go into a bye week with, because this group, even though they're 5-0, even though they got the win, they're going to watch the tape tomorrow. And they're not going to feel good. Jay Hill's not going to feel good. He's going to make sure that they know there's a ton of things that have to be worked on defensively, because nobody should feel good after that performance. You feel good that you won, but nobody should feel good after that performance. The last thing, LJ Martin is supposed to come back after the bye week for the Arizona game. That's according to Kalani. Now, that would not be the first time that Kalani has said something about an injury and then it doesn't come true. That's just kind of the nature of college football coaches these days. But he says LJ Martin is coming back. Hinkley Ropati should be back as well. Sione Moa should be back as well. Sione Moa went out in this game. He didn't play, right? So the breakout star from a week ago doesn't play this week. That's a big boost to the BYU running game, and BYU needs to find a running game in a hurry. I mean, they desperately have got to find a running game. Like I say, we're changing the expectations for this team. They're not going to be able to continue this run if they can't find something on the ground. As much as we like to critique what Jake Retzlaff does and does not do, or can and cannot do, if you take him away from the offense right now, the running game isn't getting anything done. Jake Retzlaff has been a really important piece of this offense. He's led the team in rushing a couple of different weeks. He's throwing the ball for a couple hundred yards each game. He's been a big part of it, and that's with his struggles, but he's been a very big part of the offense. The running game has got to find a way to help him out. The offensive line has got to find a way to help him out. Overall, though, BYU gets their first Big 12 conference road win. That's big. They were underdogs and they won outright again. That's big. The Cougars are 5-0. That feels great. There's a lot of things to work on during a bye week. That also feels pretty good. There shouldn't be any ego at BYU. There shouldn't be any ego in Provo this week. They may be 5-0 and they may be ranked, but the tape is going to show plenty of things that this team is going to have to work on both sides of the ball and special teams as well. That's a good thing if you're one of the BYU coaches, to still have wins and to have things that are easily identifiable that need to be worked on and addressed during a bye week. That's a good thing if you're a coach. And I think that bodes well for BYU's future. I'm optimistic about BYU coming out of this bye week with a little bit more health and a little bit more practice time to correct some of their mistakes. There's going to be a lot of things to talk about over the next couple of weeks. Those are kind of my instant analysis, my instant reaction just immediately following this game. 5-0. Can't complain too much about that. It's been fun. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And until next time, give them hell.